The sun beats down on the temple of Amun, casting a golden glow over the hieroglyphics that adorn the walls. Tutankhamun, resplendent in his traditional Egyptian garments, stands before the altar, his Nemes headdress gleaming in the light. He raises his arms to the heavens, his voice ringing out as he invokes the great god, Amun. Incense and myrrh waft up from the burning offerings, filling the nostrils of the gathered priests. Suddenly, Tutankhamun's body convulses, his arms trembling as he coughs up a bloody froth. The priests gasp in shock, their eyes wide with concern. Ankhesenamun rushes to his side, her face etched with worry. The high priest of Amun steps forward, his staff in hand, his voice commanding as he calls for the ritual to be halted. Tutankhamun's eyes lock onto the priest, a flash of defiance sparking in their depths. The priest's face remains impassive, his eyes narrowed in calculation. Tutankhamun's coughing fit subsides, leaving him gasping for breath. Ankhesenamun supports him, her arm around his waist. The priests begin to murmur among themselves, their voices hushed but urgent. The high priest of Amun raises his hands, his voice booming out across the temple. The murmur ceases, the priests falling silent as they await the priest's words. Tutankhamun's eyes never leave the priest, his gaze burning with intensity. Blood and incense hang over the temple, the smell clinging to the stone. Howard Carter's brushstrokes are gentle, careful, as he clears away the dirt and debris from the stone steps leading to Tutankhamun's tomb. The year is 1922, and the Valley of the Kings is abuzz with excitement. Carter's eyes shine with anticipation, his heart racing with the possibility of discovery. He has spent years searching for this tomb, poring over ancient texts and scouring the desert landscape for any sign of the pharaoh's final resting place. The sun beats down on his back, the heat intense as he works. His fingers are stained with dirt, his nails cracked and dry. He pauses, his brush hovering above the stone as he examines the hieroglyphics that adorn the wall. The symbols tell a story that only the most skilled scholars can decipher. Carter's mind is racing, his thoughts consumed by the secrets that lie within the tomb. He takes a deep breath, his eyes locked onto the stone as he begins to carefully transcribe the hieroglyphics. His pencil scratches against the paper, the sound echoing in the stillness of the desert. Carter's hands move with precision, his fingers tracing the outlines of the symbols. He is a man consumed by his work, driven by a passion for discovery. The tomb is a puzzle, a riddle waiting to be solved. Carter works tirelessly, his brush strokes gentle, his mind racing with the possibilities. The sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the valley. Carter's eyes never leave the stone, his focus unwavering as he uncovers the secrets of the tomb. The CT scanner hums to life, its machinery whirring as it begins to scan Tutankhamun's mummy. The year is 2005, and the team of scientists gathered around the scanner are on the cutting edge of forensic analysis. They are a diverse group, each with their own area of expertise, but they are united in their quest for knowledge. The scanner's beam slices through the wrappings, revealing the pharaoh's body in exquisite detail. The team watches in fascination, their eyes glued to the screen as the images begin to take shape. The scanner's computer beeps and whirs, its software processing the vast amounts of data that are pouring in. The team's leader, a soft-spoken woman with a kind face, leans forward, her eyes locked onto the screen. She is an expert in ancient Egyptian medicine, and she is determined to uncover the secrets of Tutankhamun's death. The scanner's beam moves slowly, meticulously, as it builds a detailed picture of the pharaoh's body. The team waits in silence, their anticipation building as they wait for the results. The scanner's computer beeps again, its software finishing its analysis. The team's leader turns to the others, a look of fascination on her face. The results are in, and they are about to change everything. Ankhesenamun's hands tremble as she holds the small, carved stone statue of the goddess Isis. The high priest of Amun stands before her, his voice low and menacing. "Your husband's condition worsens by the day, Your Majesty," he says, his words dripping with disdain. "I fear it is a sign of the god's displeasure with the new religious practices he has introduced." Ankhesenamun's eyes narrow, her grip on the statue tightening. "You dare to suggest that the gods are punishing my husband?" she asks, her voice soft but laced with anger. The high priest's expression remains unreadable, his eyes fixed on the queen. "I merely state the obvious, your majesty. The traditional ways have been forsaken, and now the pharaoh suffers." Ankhesenamun's face sets in a determined expression. "I will not be swayed by your words, priest," she says, her voice firm. "My husband's health is of the utmost importance, and I will do everything in my power to ensure his recovery." The high priest's gaze lingers on the queen before he turns to leave, his staff thumping against the stone floor. The sound of his footsteps echoes through the chamber, growing fainter with each passing moment. Ankhesenamun's eyes never leave the spot where the priest disappeared, her mind racing with thoughts of her husband's condition and the priest's ominous words. The statue of Isis still clutched in her hand, she turns to face the window, the bright sunlight illuminating the city of Thebes. The temples and palaces stretch out before her, a showcase of Egypt's greatness. Ankhesenamun's thoughts turn to her husband's health, and she feels a shiver run down her spine as she gazes out at the city. Howard Carter's fingers brush against the cool stone as he makes his way through the narrow passageway. The scent of aged dust and decay fills his nostrils. His team follows closely behind, their lanterns casting flickering shadows on the walls. The sound of their footsteps echoes off the stone, a steady beat that marks their progress. As they round a corner, a section of the wall comes into view, adorned with hieroglyphics. Carter's eyes light up with excitement as he reaches out to touch the symbols. "This is it," he whispers, his voice barely audible over the sound of his own heartbeat. "This is the entrance to the tomb." The team gathers around him, their faces filled with a mix of awe and trepidation. Carter's eyes scan the hieroglyphics, his mind racing with the possibilities. And then he sees it, a small, cryptic message etched into the stone. "What does it say?" one of his team members asks, her voice full of curiosity. Carter's eyes narrow as he studies the message. "It appears to be a warning," he says, his voice low and measured. The team exchanges nervous glances, their minds reeling with the implications. Carter's eyes remain fixed on the message, his mind racing with the possibilities. The team's breathing is audible, their excitement building as they realize they may have stumbled upon something significant. As they stand there, the darkness of the passageway seems to press in around them. The scientist's gloved hands move with precision as she examines the mummy's broken leg. The sound of her breathing is steady, a calm counterpoint to the excitement that threatens to overwhelm her. The mummy, once the mighty pharaoh Tutankhamun, now lies before her, a relic of a bygone era. The scientist's eyes are fixed on the leg, her mind racing with the implications of what she is seeing. The break is clean, a sharp fracture that suggests a violent impact. She gently rotates the leg, her eyes scanning the surface for any signs of trauma. The scent of preservatives and aged dust fills the air, a potent odor that clings to everything. As she works, the scientist's mind is a whirlwind of questions and theories, each one building upon the last. What had caused the break? Had it been an accident, or something more sinister? The sound of her colleague's voice breaks the silence, a gentle inquiry about her findings. The scientist's eyes flicker up, her gaze meeting that of her colleague. "It's a clean break," she says, her voice measured, "but I'm not sure what to make of it." Her colleague nods, his eyes filled with interest. "Perhaps it was an accident," he suggests. The scientist's expression is thoughtful, her mind still racing with the possibilities. The high priest of Amun stands in the shadows, his eyes fixed on the group of advisors before him. Tension fills the room, the weight of their conversation evident in their hushed tones. "We must act quickly," one of the advisors says, his voice low and urgent. "The pharaoh's condition worsens by the day, and if we do not take action, we risk losing our chance to shape the future of Egypt." "I agree," he says, his voice measured, "but we must be cautious. The queen is not one to be underestimated." The advisors nod in agreement, their faces set with determination. As they speak, the sound of their voices stirs the embers of a long, smoldering fire. The high priest's eyes seem to bore into the souls of the advisors, his gaze a challenge to their resolve. The shadows deepen, the darkness cast by the flickering torches. Cinnamons' voice cuts through the dimly lit chamber. "I will try anything, please. You must help me." The mysterious healer's hands move with deliberate precision, measuring out a pinch of dried myrrh into a small mortar. The healer's eyes, an unnerving shade of green, lock onto Cinnamons' face as she grinds the myrrh into a fine powder. A faint scent of sandalwood wafts up from the mortar, mingling with the smell of burning incense. The healer's voice is low, her words measured. "This remedy has been passed down through my family for generations, but it is not without risk." Cinnamons' face sets in a determined expression, her jaw clenched. "I accept the risk," she says firmly. Dr. Ahmed's fingers fly across the keyboard, the sound of keystrokes echoing through the laboratory. The CT scan results of Tutankhamun's mummy flicker to life on the screen, a maze of grey and white hues. Dr. Patel leans in, her eyes scanning the images with intensity. The soft hum of the computer fills the room, punctuated by the occasional beep of a machine. Dr. Ahmed's voice is laced with excitement. "Look at this. The density of the bone structure is inconsistent with a natural death." Dr. Patel's eyes narrow, her mind racing with the implications of their discovery. Tutankhamun's labored breathing fills the room, his chest rising and falling with a slow, tortured rhythm. Cinnamons' hands cradle his head, her fingers stroking his hair with a gentle touch. The sound of his ragged gasps fills the silence. A faint sheen of sweat clings to Tutankhamun's forehead, his skin pale and clammy to the touch. Cinnamons' voice is a whispered plea, her words barely audible over the sound of his breathing. "Please, my love." The air grows thick with the scent of myrrh, the healer's remedy hanging heavy over the scene. Dr. Lee's eyes widen as she stares at the data on her screen, her mind reeling with the implications. Her chair scrapes against the floor. Dr. Lee's voice is barely above a whisper, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I think I've found something. A pattern of injuries that suggests Tutankhamun's death was not a natural one." The fluorescent lights overhead cast an eerie glow over the scene. Dr. Lee's fingers tremble as she reaches for the phone, her eyes never leaving the screen. "We need to get this information to Dr. Ahmed now." The phone's screen flickers to life in her hand, the numbers blurring together as she dials quickly. Tutankhamun's labored breathing fills the room, his chest rising and falling with each strained inhalation. Cinnamons' soft voice whispers words of comfort, her hands gently stroking his forehead. The only sound is the soft rustle of linen and the faint scent of incense wafting through the air. Suddenly, a faint gurgle escapes Tutankhamun's lips, and his body convulses, his limbs twitching wildly. Cinnamons' eyes widen in horror as she calls out for the royal physicians, her voice echoing through the chamber. The doors burst open, and medical staff rushes to the pharaoh's side. The high priest of Amun stands at the edge of the room, his eyes fixed on the commotion, his expression a mixture of concern and calculation. He whispers to one of the priests, who nods and quickly exits the room. Rushing footsteps and muffled voices fill the hallway outside. Cinnamons' face is etched with worry, her eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep and tears. She clutches Tutankhamun's hand, her fingers intertwined with his, as if willing him to stay with her. In a small, cluttered laboratory in modern-day Cairo, a team of scientists huddles around a computer screen, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the monitor. They analyze data from a recent scan of Tutankhamun's mummy, and the results are shocking. One of the scientists, a young woman with a look of intense focus, points to a section of the scan, her finger tracing the outline of a small, unexplained object. "This can't be right," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "It looks like a piece of bone lodged in his skull." The team exchanges skeptical glances. The team leader, a bespectacled man with a kind face, leans forward, his eyes scanning the data. "We need to run more tests," he says, his voice firm. The team nods in agreement, their faces set with determination. They begin to discuss the possibilities, their voices rising and falling in a murmur of excitement and speculation. The hum of the computer provides a steady background noise. Ankhesenamun kneels before the altar, her hands clasped together in supplication. The scent of incense fills the air, and the flickering torches cast eerie shadows on the walls. She whispers a desperate plea to the gods, her voice trembling with emotion. "Please, great Ra, have mercy on my husband. Spare his life, and I will offer you anything at all." The words spill from her lips like a prayer, her heart pouring out her deepest fears and desires. The soft crackle of the torches is the only sound. The high priest of Amun stands behind her, his eyes fixed on the queen's bowed head. His expression is inscrutable, his face a mask of calm, but his eyes betray a glimmer of calculation, a hint of a plan unfolding. He whispers a soft prayer, his voice barely audible, but his words are not for the gods. They are for himself, a reminder of the power that is within his grasp. Ankhesenamun's body shakes with sobs, her shoulders trembling. The team of scientists gathers around a large wooden table, their faces somber. They discuss the implications of their discovery, the possible meanings and consequences. One of the team members, a soft-spoken man with a kind face, speaks up, his voice measured. "We need to consider the historical context," he says. Tutankhamun's death was a significant moment in Egyptian history. If we're saying that he was murdered, or that his death was not natural, then we're talking about a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top. The team leader leans back in his chair, his eyes scanning the room. "We need to be careful," he says. "We're not just talking about history here. We're talking about the reputation of a king, of a dynasty." The team nods in agreement, their faces set with determination. They know that they have a long and difficult road ahead of them, but they're ready for the challenge. The quiet hum of the computer and the rustle of papers fill the room. Ankhesenamun stands before the vacant throne, the soft glow of the censers casting a golden light on her face. She remembers the day Tutankhamun first sat upon the throne, his youthful energy and enthusiasm infectious, and the way he would smile at her, his eyes crinkling at the corners. The small, carved stone statue of the goddess Isi, which she had held in Act 2, now sits on a nearby pedestal, a poignant reminder of her desperate attempts to save her husband. As she gazes at the statue, her thoughts turn to the cryptic message found in Tutankhamun's tomb, and she wonders if it holds the key to understanding the circumstances surrounding his death. The air is thick with the scent of incense and myrrh, transporting her back to the moments they shared in this very room. Her shoulders slump under the weight of her grief, her breath catching in her throat. She recalls the words of the high priest of Amun, his voice low and menacing as he spoke of the pharaoh's heresy and the rumors of a curse or poisoning that had swirled around Tutankhamun's passing. Ankhesenamun's mind reels as she tries to make sense of it all, fragments of information and rumor swirling together in a maddening dance. The room grows darker, shadows deepening as the sun dips below the horizon, casting the throne room in a somber light. The team of scientists gathers around the conference table, their faces somber and serious as they prepare to present their findings. Dr. Ahmed, the lead researcher, clears his throat, his voice steady as he begins to speak. "Our research suggests that Tutankhamun's death was likely the result of a combination of factors, including a severe infection and a possible genetic disorder. However, we also discovered a mysterious, unexplained substance in his tomb, which may be linked to the cryptic message found earlier." The room falls silent, the audience leaning forward in their seats, their eyes fixed on the researcher. The team's findings are a culmination of years of research and investigation, their dedication and perseverance evident in every detail. As the team presents their findings, the audience listens with rapt attention, their faces a mixture of fascination and skepticism. The questions that follow are probing and insightful, the audience seeking to understand the implications of the team's discoveries. The golden funerary mask of Tutankhamun sits in a glass case, its surface glinting in the soft light of the museum. A visitor points to the mask, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've heard it was a chariot accident that killed him." Another visitor shakes his head. "No, I've read it was a murder, a plot to overthrow the pharaoh." The group falls into a hushed discussion, their speculation and theories hanging in the air like the scent of old dust and polished wood. As the visitors gaze upon the mask, they are drawn into the mystery of Tutankhamun's life and death. The secrets that surround the pharaoh's passing still a topic of fascination and debate. And in the silence, the mask seems to whisper a haunting question. What secrets will forever remain buried with the pharaoh?